It's now my great pleasure to actually turn to our first speaker today in a speaker session to look at the issues around the economy. And we've heard earlier how the economy has developed, and obviously China is more open to the world than ever before. So Christina Leung from NZIER, and I probably haven't quite pronounced that correctly, Christina, so I do apologise, but Christina looks after the NZIER economic forecasts and also the quarterly survey of business opinion. Those of you who have seen Christina on the Herald site, where she is a frequent participant in the Economy Hub, will know that she's a very astute analyst of our economy, but here she is to look at the bilateral relationship. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Fran, and thanks everyone for coming along, and thanks for inviting me to speak at the inaugural ASB Lantern Forum. As someone originally from Hong Kong, the Lantern Festival is one of my favourite events. It's one of the few times when you get to get in amongst the crowds with all the colourful lights and the street food, and it's pretty much the closest thing you get to Asia, and right here in New Zealand. It's also one of the most celebrated festivals in the country, and also one of the most widely recognised by New Zealanders. The relationship between New Zealand and China has come a long way since the poll tax, and aided along by the free trade agreement signed in 2008. The Chinese New Year is a good time to take stock as a nation of where we're at, both in terms of as a country and our place in the Asia Pacific, and also the contribution of Chinese to New Zealand society. Over the decades, we've seen race-based politics come into play, and I'm sure that as we head into election year, we're going to see a lot more of that. So it is shaping up to be a very interesting year ahead. From small shop owners and market gardeners, which make up the fabric of New Zealand society, to the future generation of leaders, Chinese are making very important contributions to many areas of New Zealand economy. The 2013 census showed that of the estimated Asian population of 438,000, almost 40% identified as Chinese. Right here in Auckland, we're experiencing the fastest growth out of all the regions when it comes to growth in the Asian population. The growing popularity of the Lantern Festival is a testament to the growing interest in Chinese culture. To borrow the Canadian Prime Minister's recent words, diversity is our strength. Through increasing diversity, we can be more open-minded and stronger as a nation. We also only look at the business confidence surveys to look at just how important the Chinese economy is to New Zealand. This here is from our quarterly survey of business opinion. So rewind back to a year ago, and we can see business confidence plummeting when in the wake of the sharp decline in global dairy prices. Now, fast forward back to where we are now, and since then we've seen a rebound in global dairy prices, and with it a rebound in business confidence. This has happened right across the regions, but particularly in dairy intensive regions such as Southland. So that's all very positive. Also, China, we can see, is driving much of the demand in dairy, with over a fifth of our dairy exports going to China. But of course, it's more than just a China story, or dairy story, with growth in wine and fruit exports going to China as well. New Zealand companies such as Comvita also have made significant inroads into the Chinese markets with its innovations with Manuka honey. Food security is becoming increasingly important in China, and this is where New Zealand can capitalise on its clean green image and its investments into food technologies such as so that we can continue to move up the value chain and export high-quality goods to these growing markets. China is once again one of our top export markets, with around 9.5% of New Zealand goods exports going to China. And of course, there's been the phenomenal growth in tourism, supported by the surge in Chinese visitors. Tourism New Zealand estimates around 330,000 Chinese visitors will have visited over the Chinese New Year period this year. Low fuel prices have encouraged a lot of airlines to put on flights from a wide range of destinations. Although Australia remains our largest source of tourists, the fact that we're getting a lot more tourists from long-haul destinations such as China and Europe means that a lot more visitors are coming here, staying longer and spending more. We can see this with the strong growth in Chinese visitors which are coming in for holidays. As we always like to joke, while we might get a lot of Australian visitors, they tend to come and crash on your couch and drink all your beer. So while the numbers are high, not so good when it comes to tourism income. China's also our top source of imports. From clothing and footwear to electronics, the scale of Chinese production has made a wide range of goods accessible to a lot of households. The Chinese economy continues its delicate rebalancing from investment-led to consumption-led growth. Chinese consumption, whilst growing in China, still only makes up around 40% of its economy. So that's still well below the 60% average of many of the other major developed economies. Its growing middle class, both in terms of population and income, shows that there's much potential for further growth in demand for high-value goods and services that New Zealand produces. The continued urbanisation of the Chinese population is positive for our export outlook. But as I touched on earlier, our strengthening relationship with China goes beyond so much more than trade. The increasing numbers of Chinese choosing New Zealand as their home means that we've got an increasing array of goods and services to choose from. As a foodie myself, I'm certainly enjoying the wider range of cuisine available right here in New Zealand nowadays. At a time when there's so much uncertainty in the global outlook, with the rise of protectionism and anti-establishment sentiment, it is even more critical that we invest in the relationships that are worth nurturing. This includes putting efforts into broadening markets, which are open to trade and cooperation. The changes which are taking place offshore, whilst increasing uncertainty, also provides opportunities for both New Zealand and China. Already New Zealand's seen as a safe haven, and we've seen in the wake of the Brexit election outcome an increase in people coming in to live from the UK. There are also reports of increased interest from Americans coming to live in New Zealand. And also we can see that with the continued rise in net migrations to record highs, with net migration over the past year surpassing 70,000. And it's a testament to the strong outlook for the New Zealand economy and how attractive New Zealand is as a place to live. The United States' self-imposed isolation from the rest of the world also provides opportunities for other major economies such as China to fill in the gap as well, particularly when it comes to trade. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement might not be going ahead while Trump is President of the United States, but there are other trade agreements being worked on, including the ASEAN-led Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. This will ensure that many parts of the world remain open for business. There's solid momentum in the New Zealand economy, and we're in for above-trend growth for the next few years. A large part of that is supported by migration-led population growth, and that will continue to drive demand across a broad range of sectors, but particularly in construction and retail spending. We have an election coming up, and that always creates some interesting elements and also a degree of caution amongst businesses. But a continued strengthening in the ties with China will ensure that the New Zealand economy remains on a solid footing, particularly at a time when the rest of the global economy is looking more shaky. I hope you all enjoy this Lantern Festival and welcoming the Year of the Rooster, and wish you all a year of prosperity and good health ahead. Thank you.